You build your path to heaven or hell one rock at a time. It's a principle of success or failure that applies in every aspect of our lives, whether it's the salvation of our souls or the success of our businesses. 2 pallets of rocks arrived in our driveway. We had 3 tons of stones sitting there on the asphalt that needed to be converted into flower bed walls and garden beds. How are we going to do this? Well, the answer is twofold. You do it one rock at a time, and you do it with help, thanks to my wonderful wife and our good friend, neighbor Dan. You become a saint or damned one rock at a time, and also with help. And friends, you can be a saint. Each time you make a good choice to pursue God's will in a little moment of your life, you're building that little rock wall in your soul, which is really virtue. You're building up that virtue in your soul that's going to help pave your path to heaven. And consequently, anytime you deny God's will or sin, you're digging a hole that only God's healing grace can pull you out of. Most of us don't have a radical conversion like St. Paul did on the road to Damascus. And likewise, most murderers don't just wake up one morning and become a murderer. Most of us make our path day in and day out with little choices that build up to big consequences. If I want a flower bed wall made of beautiful rocks, I have to choose to stack the rocks on a stable foundation, nice and level. You have to stagger the rocks so they're strong and they interlock and they stay together over the test of time. The more rocks I stack, the taller my walls get, the longer they get, and the better I get at stacking them. And you're even more efficient. Once you've done many, many rocks, you can easily spot what rock you need to put next, and it almost becomes second nature. If I don't stack the rocks and I just toss them around the yard, I'm not going to have a nice wall in my garden. I'm going to end up simply with rocks strewn about the yard. The same principle applies in every aspect of our lives. Whether you're doing a small home improvement project, whether you're trying to save your soul and become a saint, or whether you're just trying to have a successful business that will help provide for you and your family. Our lives are all about making small choices. To have success in life, you have to make those little small choices day in and day out, and they build. They build on one another, and each time you make that good choice, it becomes even easier to make the next good choice. The flip side is also true. Each time you make a bad choice, it becomes easier to make another bad choice and a worse choice, and you lead yourself down the path to hell. To build virtues and truly improve our lives, we have to make those good choices day in and day out. When we inevitably start sinning by just throwing rocks randomly around the garden, we have to pick ourselves up. We have to go to confession. We have to receive God's healing grace through the sacrament of confession. And then we can begin again anew. This principle also applies in business. If you're trying to run your own small business, you have to make those simple but sometimes difficult choices day in and day out. Maybe you don't want to go work on your business today. Maybe you'd rather take a day off and just rest, but you need to. You need to keep trucking along each day because those little choices that you make, even when it doesn't seem like it's working, they eventually will work as long as you're making good choices for your business. Especially in business, there's very few overnight successes. What you see usually are people that were grinding away day in and day out, and eventually things finally clicked and they started to really see success and they maybe started to get publicity. Very few people actually experience overnight success in business, and the same thing goes with most aspects of our lives. When you see a strong and healthy marriage, it's not something that just happened overnight. It's something that the spouses worked on day in and day out. So remember this aspect when you want to give up, when you're struggling to make a good choice today or tomorrow, to make that good choice. What does God want me to do today? What does He want me to do in this moment? Those little choices, those little rocks, they add up to build beautiful walls or to make chaos. And you're going to go to heaven or hell one rock at a time. Check out my next video where I talk about my road to St. Joseph. I'll see you over there.